This moment right now, this feels real. But is it?
Now you see, when your identity is defined by society, you cannot resist it. You don't have the knowledge, you don't have the wisdom, you don't have the resources to understand that something's being put over on you. You cannot but help believe the definition of you as a free
In the world. It's the Mario R. Test, test. Oh, there we go. Mic. Alright. Nowhere. So whatever. Let's get the video started because there will be monitoring the video, but it's not your basketball entertainment. Go on Rumble real quick. This.
And all right now we're going to go out to Fort Lauderdale International Airport, where the Tate brothers are just leaving the airport, we understand. Maybe we'll listen in and see if we can hear what they're saying.
About us, all the things that go around about us on the internet. We've yet to be convicted of any crime in our lives ever. We have no criminal record anywhere on the planet ever. Our case was dismissed on the 19th of December in Romania under the Biden administration. And our prosecutor recently decided, because we have no active indictment in court, to let us go and return. This is a democratic society. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, as my brother and I are. And I think it's extremely important that we stop allowing media spin, wrap-up smears, lies, or carefully constructed narratives from George Soros-funded operations trying to destroy the reputations of good people who have no intention to do anything other than follow the law.
Andrew, what about President Trump?
Will you return about $264 million in health insurance annually?
Hold on, everybody.
All right, our Roshlo out there, he gave us a live report at the top of the hour. As you see, the brothers, Andrew and Tristan Tate, they are leaving Fort Lauderdale Airport right now. We know that they had a travel ban, banning them from travel, but according to their lawyers, and as you can see, live proof right here, they are here in Florida. But they do have a scheduled appearance to be back in Romania on March 24th. Of course, we're going to keep following this. We have Roshlo live on the scene to give us updates. We just heard a little snippet of that interview, so we're going to hear from Rosh right now. He was there from the moment they arrived. Rosh, what can you tell us that they have said to you? What have you heard? And we see a lot of people out there right now, Rosh.
Well, Andrew, hold on one second here. Can you take the camera?
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Let me turn the camera around so I can actually talk to you. We're hot. We're hot. Here we go. Here we go. So, Andrew Tate just came out. What was very interesting is that he actually spoke. We didn't know if he would speak, and there were a lot of questions about why he is here in South Florida in the first place. I tried to ask him a question about President Trump. He didn't answer that as he was walking out, and the issue there is that there was a travel restriction on both of the Tates because of the allegations of human trafficking. Somehow,
Same deal. Human trafficking.
Female.
Popular influencer Andrew Tate is a self-professed misogynist.
Are barely sentient.
Authorities in Romania allege he's also a criminal, charged with rape and human trafficking. and until recently, under tight travel restrictions. Not anymore. That's Tate and his brother Tristan arriving on a Florida tarmac.
We live in a democratic society where it's innocent until proven guilty, and I think my brother and I are largely misunderstood.
The brothers have always denied any wrongdoing. Still, their visit not going down well with Florida's governor.
Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved.
Anything about that? I don't know. You're saying he's on a plane right now?
Tate is also facing charges in the UK. The British Prime Minister, who happened to be in the Oval Office, had this take.
It's important that justice is done, and human trafficking is obviously, to my mind, a security risk.
They're just disgusted, dismayed, distraught.
Still, the lawyer representing some of Tate's alleged victims, quick to point a finger.
Why would the so-called most powerful man in the world intervene on the behalf of one of the world's worst and most prolific alleged sex traffickers and rapists?
In a statement, Romanian authorities say the brothers are still expected to return for court proceedings or face stiffer consequences. Until then, they will likely be welcomed by some stateside.
So Andrew Tate share significant overlaps with MAGA and Trumpism. So there's a kind of anti-elite, hyper-masculinist populism at the basis of everything that they say.
From the victory arc.
Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
What?
Listen. We live in a Listen. We live in a democratic society where it's innocent until proven guilty, and I think my brother and I are largely misunderstood. There's a lot of opinions about us, a lot of things that go around about us on the internet. We've yet to be convicted of any crime in our lives ever. We have no criminal record anywhere on the planet ever. Our case was dismissed on the 19th of December in Romania under the Biden administration. And our prosecutor recently decided, because we have no active indictment in court, to let us go and return. This is a democratic society. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, as my brother and I are. And I think it's extremely important that we stop allowing media spin, wrap-up smears, lies, or carefully constructed narratives from George Soros-funded operations trying to destroy the reputations of good people who have no intention to do anything other than follow the law.
I would love to make a stream with Andrew Tate, not gonna lie. Ooh, that would be amazing. Well, let's get to the, where is it? The other video. That's crazy. This one. Wait! I have to see something else. Maybe there is something.
Well, this week's all been about the flights across the Atlantic yesterday. It was Keir Starmer's turn to go west to meet Donald Trump, but in this episode, we're talking about another man heading to the States. It's the social media influencer Andrew Tate, who, along with his brother, has left Romania, where the two of them were facing trial relating to allegations of rape, sex trafficking, and money laundering, all of which they deny. So we're going to tell you, with the help of social media investigations correspondent Mariana Spring. Hi, Mariana.
Hello.
What exactly is going on in this episode of Newscast? Hello, it's James in the studio. As you heard, Mariana's here too. And also with us is Nick Thorpe, our correspondent in Bucharest, the capital of Romania. Hi, Nick.
Hi, James.
Mariana, just first of all, just give us a quick reminder, would you? Who is Andrew Tate? Who is his brother?
So Andrew Tate is someone who you might have heard of a couple of years ago for the first time. He kind of wasn't that famous before, was sort of like a pseudo reality TV star. He then started creating social media content, and lots of his followers started posting it, and he was popping up on people's social media feeds, kind of promoting self-improvement, particularly for young men, encouraging them to sort of be independent in their lives, etc., talking about fast cars and making lots of money, also talking a lot about women. And he has previously spoken about being a misogynist and has been accused of being a misogynist, but his kind of definition of what being a misogynist is different often from what the objective definition of that would be. His brother is similar in the kinds of ideas he's posted about online. He's sort of a bit like his sidekick in some ways. And more recently, Andrew Tate has been making a lot of headlines because he's been met with very serious accusations, including of rape, of trafficking, all of which he and his brother deny and are happening in all sorts of different places, including Romania.
Yeah, Nick, tell us more about what exactly is happening there in terms of the charges.
Yes, well, basically, he was picked up, he was detained with his brother in a very dramatic raid by armed police on his villa just outside Bucharest in December 2022. Then he was charged actually 6 months later in June 2023 with rape, with money laundering, with organizing basically coercing young women against their will to take part in pornographic videos of a pornographic content live chat, that kind of thing. So those charges were brought against him after some months of investigation, but a very high profile case, which has obviously made headlines around the world.
And Nick, you're in some sort of office there. We can see and hear it. Sounds like it. Just quickly, out of interest, where exactly are you?
I'm actually at the headquarters. One of the headquarters is of the Save Romania Union political party. This is a liberal party currently in opposition here in Romania. I've just been interviewing Elena Lasconi. She's her candidate in the upcoming presidential elections, and she's been speaking out very strongly, very critical of the Romanian authorities' decision to allow Andrew and Tristan Tate to fly to the United States this morning. So I've just done an interview with her, and they have a quiet room. It's very cold outside. There's great piles of snow on the streets of Bucharest. So I'm enjoying their hospitality to speak on this podcast.
That is nice of them. So just tell us then about that decision, about where Andrew Tate and his brother are. We're recording at about 5 minutes to 3 UK time at the moment. What do we know about this decision to let them leave Romania, where they've been not allowed to leave for the last couple of years? What's going on?
Basically, what's happened, what we can be sure of, is that some point yesterday, so on Wednesday, the Romanian prosecutors responded to a request from the Tate's lawyers and said that they were going to return to them their American passports, not their British passports, because they're dual American-British citizens, but their American passports. This was in response to basically two requests, two long-standing requests from the Tate's lawyers. One was for all charges against them to be dropped. As Mariana was saying, they do regard themselves as completely innocent of all these very serious charges made against them. That request to drop the charges has been rejected firmly by the Romanian prosecutors. But the second request, which was for them to be allowed to leave Romania, that was accepted yesterday, perhaps to some surprise around the world, including here in Romania. That wasn't made public at all. We got wind of it. That's one of the reasons why I came to Romania, because we thought something might be about to happen with the Tates. Also, another issue, which I think we'll come on to later in the podcast about Călin Georgescu. But staying with the Tates for a moment, basically their passports were returned to them. They have now left. They flew out, we think, soon after 5 o'clock this morning, local time. And as we record this podcast now, they're somewhere over the Atlantic.
So things are changing, but they seem to be heading west either way. And you mentioned that person you mentioned is, I think, a far-right candidate, or had been a candidate in the elections. And we'll come back, as you say, there's a lot here, so we'll come back to that a bit later on. But Nick also mentioned, Mariana, the joint US-UK nationality that Andrew Tate and his brother have, and they face allegations here as well. They're wanted by the authorities in the UK in relation to an investigation by police in Bedfordshire, which is looking at allegations of rape and human trafficking. And again, we should say the brothers categorically reject all charges. That's a quote. But they have this British-American dual presence, And they do seem to have had considerable influence with particularly young men that has alarmed the authorities on both sides of the Atlantic, but especially here in the UK.
Yeah, the police have confirmed actually just a few minutes ago that the investigation into them is ongoing here. But the police have also been very vocal about their concerns around the kinds of content that Andrew Tate and his brother have posted on social media, and the impact that could have on young men especially. I think one of the interesting things about Andrew Tate was perhaps that he took a lot of people by surprise, that his content started really picking up traction over the summer holidays a couple of years ago, and a lot of it focused on attitudes towards women that many people would consider very toxic, focused on self-improvement superficially, and encouraging young men to sort of improve their lives. But, you know, I've spoken to various teenage boys, their families, people who've worked inside the social media companies, all who raised very serious concerns about the impact this kind of content had, some of whom, particularly the teenagers, didn't really want to be getting it at all, but others who had, you know, been sucked into it, them describing to me their friends behaving in a really different way towards women in their lives because they were seeing this sorts of stuff. So Andrew Tate is in many ways symbolic of, you know, charges and accusations and everything else aside, symbolic of the rise of a certain type of online content that we often refer to as the manosphere. So it's this kind of space online which is very pro-men, for want of a better way of describing it, and often sets itself up in opposition to women as a consequence, and expresses very negative views about women and about romantic relationships and sexual relationships and how that all works.
Yeah, and just to give a couple of specific examples, just a few things, quotes from Andrew Tate to flesh out what you're saying there, Mariana. For example, he has described himself as saying he is absolutely a misogynist, that is to say, a hater of women. He said he is a sexist. He's described women as intrinsically lazy, said there's no such thing as an independent female, and among other things. At one point, he was banned from what was then Twitter for saying women should bear responsibility for being sexually assaulted, although he's since back on X, which we might come on to. No, go on, Mariana.
What I was going to say, I mean, that's what's been so interesting is when he first started popping up everywhere, there was a real concern, especially from, I mean, not just the police, but from schools, from parents, from all kinds of people, you know, kids and teenagers themselves, about what they were seeing on their feeds. And the social media companies kind of across the board responded to this by seemingly reducing some of the content and the reach that Andrew Tate had. It's worth saying that a lot of his content doesn't always come from him. It often comes from, like, kind of networks of fan accounts, people that really like him, make montages, and part of his university scheme thing that that he runs involved people kind of making content for him and putting this stuff out there. So he's incredibly good at gaming the social media algorithms, the recommendation systems, which would push this stuff because it sparks a reaction, whether you love it or hate it. But so that all happened. He kind of went off all of the main platforms and was variously removed, or some of the content was removed. And then Elon Musk bought X, and Elon Musk decided to reinstate a huge number of people who'd been removed from the platform. And Andrew Tate was actually one of the kind of later people to be reintroduced, but he was reintroduced nonetheless.
And that gets us into the links, Nick, with the United States, and links that get close to the Trump administration. Elon Musk, obviously a very close advisor of Donald Trump, more than an advisor, he seems to be directly involved in many ways in the running of the government. But also, this whole story really has been brewing, as you say, you headed out there knowing this story had been brewing since last week. And one of the reasons, Nick, for that, I wonder, tell me, was it this envoy in the Trump administration who'd been discussing the case directly with a Romanian minister, which has made people wonder if there is some sort of Trump White House interest in Tate and his brother?
Exactly, James. We're talking here about Richard Grenell, who's a special envoy for Donald Trump, for the US administration. We know, had a conversation in the corridors, effectively, of the recent Munich Security Conference. And Mr. Grenell, Trump's envoy, brought up the case of the Tates with Emil Hurezeanu, who's the Romanian foreign minister. He happens to know the envoy years going back. They were both ambassadors at some point in Germany. So it was raised, the issue of the Tates. Mr. Grenell apparently expressed an interest, even support for them, to the Romanian foreign minister. This leaked to the press, And we heard then there was an interesting investigative piece in the Financial Times newspaper about this, saying that this had been raised privately already the previous week by the Trump administration with the Romanian government. So two different conversations at the same time, really suggesting that Mr. Trump or the American administration would like Romania to release the Tates, to return their US passports to them. At the time, the Romanian Prime Minister, he made a statement saying this does not, in his view, amount to a demand, as these were rather informal contacts at a diplomatic, sometimes public, sometimes less public level, that this did not, Romanian government said, it did not feel that a demand had been made, but they acknowledged that they were under pressure of one kind or another to release the Tates. And so obviously this increased the speculation in the air, rumors that they might soon be released. Perhaps the word released is the wrong word here, that they might soon be given back their passports and allowed to travel, because the Romanian prosecution service today has been making clear in a statement that they remain under investigation for all these serious offences, that they are still under what the Romanians call judicial control, but there are different forms of judicial control. In some forms it can be akin to house arrest, but in their case, they'd had to surrender their passports. So they had been allowed until this morning to travel freely around Romania. They just weren't allowed to leave. And what they were really fishing for and what they finally got was permission to leave and their passports back. That said, again, the prosecutors say that they, as they're still under investigation on these very serious charges, they will expect them to return regularly to Romania to face those charges, to cooperate with investigators.
Yeah.
And I've also been told privately that when would the next hearing be? And I was told end of March, so only a month away. We'll find out pretty soon whether they do ever come back to Romania or not.
Yes, Nick, and there is some scepticism about, as you say, whether they will return, not least from 4 British women who allege they were sexually abused by Andrew Tate, which he denies. They have said in a statement that it's clear to them that he will not now face criminal prosecution in Romania. And they go on to say that they think he'll use this as an opportunity to harass further, intimidate people, continue to spread what they call as violent misogynistic doctrine. And their lawyer has been speaking to the BBC, and we can hear from him now.
They're just disgusted, dismayed, distraught. They don't understand how this could happen. Why would the so-called most powerful man in the world intervene on the behalf of one of the world's worst and most prolific alleged sex traffickers and rapists? They just don't understand it. They now feel that they've been completely abandoned, and that Tates will never see a criminal prosecution.
You refer to the most powerful man in the world, you mean Donald Trump?
I do mean Donald Trump, yes.
So that was Matthew Jury, a lawyer for these 4 British women. And Mariana, we were talking about the links between the Trump administration on the one hand and Romania on the other. And there's another link, isn't there? What is it? One of the Tate's lawyers.
Yeah, so there's this guy called Paul Ingrassia, who people might not, newscasters might not have heard of.
I've heard of him, to be honest.
Yeah, well, he's not a very well-known person. He's someone who is now a kind of liaison to the US Justice Department, one of those kind of Doge new recruits. So the Department of Government Efficiency, which is this advisory board which Elon Musk is in charge of, has kind of brought a lot more people into the fold in a way that they perhaps weren't before. And he is one of those people. He also happens to be one of the people who was part of a team that represented the Tate brothers in a defamation lawsuit they filed against some of their alleged victims. And he acted as his publicist at one point. He says he was responsible for getting, or at least partially responsible for getting Andrew Tate on Tucker Carlson, who was he now has a show and he used to be on Fox News. And he's been incredibly supportive of Andrew Tate on social media. For example, in July 2023, he described Andrew Tate as an extraordinary human being who is offering a dying West some hope for renewal.
So we're building here a picture of little threads, little links between the White House on one side, or at least the wider Trump world, and this case, Andrew Tate, and Romania on the other. And just to continue with that, Nick, can you take, and this is complicated, which is why I'm doing this bit by bit. We're trying to take it bit by bit. But the next thread that links Romania and the White House is the Vice President, J.D. Vance. And this man, Calin Georgescu, who you mentioned earlier. Nick, please, can you explain?
Sure. So Calin Georgescu, he's in his early 60s. He's a Romanian politician we hadn't really heard from before. He emerged pretty much from nowhere on the 24th of November.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
Well, nice
Big
to meet
fan.
you. I'm a fan. You're the one saving Trump. You're doing more important work than me.
America, not just Trump. And I agree with everything you just said. And I think that your anger is the same that President Trump has for our country. And the time is now for us to stop being wimps. I think that's exactly the right sentiment. And I also have to say that I sympathize with you because I think you go through a lot of the same show me the person, I'll find the crime that President Trump has gone through. And hi.
Hello, Alina.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
Well, nice
Big
to meet
fan.
you. I'm a fan. You're the one saving Trump. You're doing more important work than me.
America, not just Trump. And I agree with everything you just said. And I think that your anger is the same that President Trump has for our country. And the time is now for us to stop being wimps. I think that's exactly the right sentiment. And I also have to say that I sympathize with you because I think you go through a lot of the same show me the person, I'll find the crime that President Trump has gone through. And hi.
Hello, Alina.
Hi.
Hello. When I grab you by your neck and you start annoying me trying to resist, and I just and then I grab you by your neck again. Then what the fuck are you gonna do when your face is collapsed and your fucking cheekbone's broken? You ain't gonna do shit but cry.
I guarantee I changed the way you look at sex forever. You're gonna be fucking crying. I won't cry. I bet you cry, bitch. I bet you fucking cry. You're saying I wouldn't cry. You're challenging me to a fight. You're saying I can't hurt you.
Society where it's innocent until proven guilty, and I think my brother and I are largely misunderstood. There's a lot of opinions about us, a lot of things that go around about us on the internet. We've yet to be convicted of any crime in our lives ever. We have no criminal record anywhere on the planet ever. Our case was dismissed on the 19th of December in Romania under the Biden administration. And our prosecution
Oh man, that looks. She looks malnourished. She looks anorexic. She's too skinny. Look at our carotid arteries in her neck. Yeah, that's just too thin. So you can actually see her real bones right here. And there he is. I mean, just brutally honest. Is he sick for saying that? Well, according to this, Andrew Tate sparks outrage among followers after making a distasteful remark about Ariana Grande's appearance on Wednesday. Distasteful. He could have came out and said, hey, you need a steak and a baked potato and a tall glass of sweet tea. She needs an intervention. This is serious. She's lost too much weight. She looks unhealthy to me. I'm not trying to be rude here. Yeah. I'm worried about her safety. That neck does not lie. Yeah, the ribs. Look how big her head is compared to her body. That head is huge. All right.
people, especially men in the world today. Why are they say yard with the wine? That's what rich people do, right? Wine. They sit around and they drink it and they go.
November last year in the first round of Romania's.
Didn't want to have the kid, and the guy said, no, please have the kid, and she killed the baby anyway. He has no recourse.